What is poppin', everybody? And we are back, LA Comic-Con 2024. My name is Justin Woodward, co-founder of the Mixed Media Indie Exchange, and we have an awesome game here, a collaboration between WayForward and Atari.
Yep.
And what are your guys' names and titles?
My name is Ethan Stearns. I'm the VP of Games over at Atari.
Adam from WayForward. I'm head of publishing, and I wrote the script for this particular game.
Awesome. So what game are we going to be showcasing today?
So this is Yars Rising. So Yars Rising is a game that actually Adam and I, when I first started at Atari, it was something that we were very early working on together, and it's been probably over 2 years now that we were working on this game together. And when Wade Rosen, our new CEO, joined the company, he really wanted to work with WayForward on something, and WayForward was really interested in doing something with Atari. And we were like, well, what IP should we work with? What game makes sense to bring over to WayForward? And there were a lot of options put on the table, and this was the one. The Yars universe was what WayForward wanted to work with.
Yeah, I think one of the things that WayForward is known for as a developer is taking existing IP and kind of updating them or reimagining them. And this was an interesting one because the original game on Atari 2600, Yars Revenge, is so abstract and weird, and it's hard to understand what's going on. It's kind of a bug fighting aliens in space. And so, we didn't want to necessarily just do a straight adaptation like there have been previous versions where you are, just jumping right into it. We wanted to do something that had a little more story, a little more kind of grounded in reality. And so we've got this story about this young hacker in her 20s, Emi Kimura. And basically it starts very grounded in reality. She's kind of working her way through an evil corporation, hacking through the systems. But as you get deeper and deeper in the game, you see how it connects to the lore of that original Atari 2600 game.
Yeah, the animations and colorful characters and just the vibrant UI, they totally stand out. So you were hacking earlier. She's a hacker.
Mm-hmm.
So it's when you're hacking, does it go back to the old gameplay style?
It was really important to us early on that we weren't trying to force Atari games onto what WayForward is so great at making in the kinds of games they put together. And so we were thinking through ways to integrate that original Yars gameplay into this game that felt natural. And so the idea that we came up with, which I think it just works tremendously, is this idea that her hacking interface, so the GUI that she uses to hack, is representational of these early arcade games. It looks like these arcade games. It reminds me of, remember that movie Hackers?
Yeah.
The different boot screens to get.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of that a little bit.
That's cool.
And so those things, as you go through the game, those escalate and develop too. So they start very simple, kind of like a very simple version of Yars Revenge. They get more and more complicated. They also start pulling in elements from other Atari games, other classic Atari 2600 or arcade games from the time. And so this whole game was really trying to kind of celebrate old school Atari of the 80s, and not just Yars Revenge, but a little bit of so many different titles from that period that they were publishing.
What are some of the other titles featured in the game that you see? I mean, obviously not to spoil it too much.
I mean, Missile Command
cool.
is a big one. This is a representation of what the original Yars gameplay looked like. And even the original Yars gameplay had several different layers of complexity. So WayForward's hacking interface evolves over time as you get further into the game. But yeah, I mean, kind of nods to a lot of stuff. Centipede, Missile Command.
Yep. And then as far as characters, starts getting into Black Widow. There's references in Warlords and stuff like that. I really love how they start blending though. And you'll see that as you go deeper into the hacking games, where it always has that element of Yars Revenge when you're controlling the character, but it'll start to bring in elements from Centipede or from other Atari games, which is really cool.
So what happens if you die right here?
You take some damage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And some of these get kind of difficult. What I'm actually doing here, in addition to getting upgrades to Emmy, like her ability to shoot, which we saw in the beginning, there also are these biohacks that she gets that allow her to become a little bit stronger. Gives her more power for her shots. She can be a little bit more stealthy, and then also there are biohacks that help her be better in those hacking games. So towards the end, the hacking mini games get quite difficult. So having these biohacks really helps out.
Oh, this is cool. Okay.
Yeah, and then, so this is kind of like our version of like an inventory, right? So
Yeah.
After a while, you get so many of these that you kind of have to pick and choose and figure out how you're going to fit everything in this yard.
So there's a little bit of like inventory Tetris, so to speak.
Yeah.
That's cool.
If I put it in right, the other cool thing that one of the biohacks is giving you information about the soundtrack. So above all the amazing stuff that WayForward does and the cool lore that we're bringing in from Atari's past, there's also an incredible soundtrack. I think there's over 40 unique artists on it.
Oh, really?
It's an international collection of artists that the director James Montagna pulled together for this game.
Yeah, I think James had mentioned that it sets a record for WayForward for the number of recording artists on a single game of ours. And like Ethan said, tons of name folks. We have Megan McDuffie, who has done all the River City Girls games for us. She contributed some amazing tracks. We have Moe Shop. We have Dale North, Tommy Pedrini, lots of great folks that we worked with and that have worked in the indie game scene for a while.
Awesome.
And if you're interested in hearing some of the music before you have a chance to play the game, WayForward's YouTube channel has a long, like 3-hour, like lo-fi mix.
Oh, really?
That has all of those songs in a big long mix.
That's super fun. What is she shooting out of her hands? Is that a representation of her hacking, like, or is that she has like some kind of?
Essentially, what it is as she's going through, she started off just like a normal human, but she's like Ethan said, she's biomechanically hacking her body as we go along, and so that gives her the ability to blast energy from her hand, to absorb energy from fields that are blocking her, to float and fly and do all these like very Metroidvania-ish kind of like ways to get around and bypass puzzles. And so that's the very first one you get, is blasting energy from your hand.
Nice.
So this is our stealth area. I was trying to get through it quickly so we could show more, but I was getting punished for trying to go too fast. Again, here's some more of that classic Yars Rising gameplay.
That's cool.
And you can see it amps up a little more, so now it's moving back and forth, becomes a little more challenging to aim. And like Ethan said, they get pretty difficult as you go, but you can always retry. It just takes a little bit of your health if you fail.
One of my biohacks actually makes my cannon work better, and I forgot about that, so I shot myself in the back.
It's raining. Did I bring in a
That's
umbrella
cool.
today?
Can you tell us about the voice acting? Because it's really good.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, voice acting, working with some of the best voice actors in the business has been kind of a hallmark of recent WayForward titles. We really had a fantastic cast on this one. Jenny Yokobori plays the main character, and essentially we've got cutscenes that you'll encounter every now and then, but as much as possible, we didn't want to interrupt the action. So a lot of it is passive VO, as you saw there. While you're playing the game, Emmy will comment to herself, or other characters will radio in and give her information. But as much as possible, we wanted to keep the action going and have the audio as kind of like a background story that plays while you're fighting and hacking your way through things.
That's cool. So what are like some of the boss encounters like?
Yeah, so each area has like a significant boss, and sort of classic to Metroidvania gameplay. Each area you kind of learn a new what we call augments, and those augments allow Emmy to do different things like double jump, wall jump, new missiles, things that she can use in the classic Metroidvania way to like open doors, access new areas, and oftentimes those new skills that she learns are an advantage she needs for those boss fights. So, for example, we have a boss called Black Widow, and you need to be able to jump off of walls to really put damage into her. And so, that's kind of a way that WayForward worked to kind of progress each of those levels and help reinforce those new augments as you go along.
So with the Metroidvania elements, is there a lot of exploration and like backtracking to open up various areas?
Yeah, we wanted to keep it pretty intuitive. So, it's not going to be explorative to where you get really frustrated and keep playing the same place over and over. We have a lot of kind of like little subtle things that will guide you. So if you, again, tapping into the passive view, if you revisit areas that you've already been and you're not really supposed to be going down there, at least as far as objectives, Emmy might start kind of commenting and saying, I think I've been here before. But,
that's cool.
Yeah, you explore. You can check your map out at any point. That'll tell you where you are. It'll tell you where you've been. It'll tell you interesting objectives away, blockade walls, things you can't get past yet. And like Ethan said, you're basically going through and expanding your world as you get those augments, as you get the new abilities that allow you to overcome objectives.
But I would say like most of it is exploratory to get some more of those bonus biohacks and things. It's not necessarily, there's not a ton of crisscrossing the map the way you would see in
I got you,
something
yeah.
else.
That's cool.
And I think part of that's tied to kind of like the story, right? I would say, like, I mean, I think we want there to be this narrative experience that the player's having, and so sometimes like having to crisscross too much kind of takes away from that.
Exactly. Yeah, and I mean, she's in there with a purpose. She's basically trying to hack the system and get out alive, coordinating with her friends to get out of this gauntlet. So we wanted something that was a very driven story, but on the other hand, we want to reward exploration. So there's a lot of like off the path secrets that you can find by exploring and really 100%ing each map. Those will get you the little biohacks that you can then equip with your player and do a more advanced experience than if you just do main path.
That's cool. And so are there like different biomes that the character is in?
Yeah, we vary it up. So right now you're in the office complex, and it's kind of in typical Metroidvania fashion. Every new world kind of really changes the scenery. So you go to like, this is kind of the more open areas. It's a little bit dangerous, but they're kind of connected to like the lobbies, like you can see here, and the areas that people would see if they visited the company. As you go deeper into the depths of the building, you see things that are supposed to not be seen publicly, and then you end up getting outside, and then you end up traveling. I'm not sure what's a spoiler or not, but getting to pretty different locations by the end of the game as you hit the last couple chapters.
So when the game was recently released, right? How do you have any planned updates for the game or anything like that? When was it released, by the way?
It came out on the 10th, so that was almost a month ago now.
Yep.
And I mean, right now we're really focused on having people go through this story as it is, and I think that there's room for us to continue this story, but it's not really its narrative element doesn't really suit us to DLC necessarily. We may add some other packs or costume upgrades over time, but it kind of is a single story.
Yeah, we're really seeing how people received this first one. Hopefully this will be the first of many collaborations between Atari and WayForward. We love working with their IP. The other thing that we do have that's cool about this is we have a prequel comic coming out next month, which actually takes place right before this. So people who play the game, whether they play the game first or read the comic first, you can get a little more time with the characters and get a little more insight on who they are if you read the comic next month and you play the game that's available now.
That's cool. It's definitely a very interesting, innovative take on an old school game. So congrats on that for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, a lot of people see it, and I think kind of the knee-jerk reaction is like, what does this have to do with Yars? You guys are not doing the same kind of game. But the more that you play, we really mind everything. So every facet of the original game, all of the lore, like the ancillary comics that came with it back on the 2600, everything we could find, we have in here represented somehow. We just kind of worked with this conceit of starting with a human character who gets drawn into that stuff. And hopefully, people who actually play through the game that are fans of the original title on 2600, I think they're going to be really happy with how much of that lore got carried over.
And it's really important for us at Atari that we're introducing these games and these IPs to new generations of gamers. The whole generation of people who remember Yars is an important game to them, but there's a new generation of gamers who just don't know what that is. And I think working with WayForward allows us to sort of introduce those players and also pay homage to it correctly.
Yeah, that was a big part of it. I mean, we've done that with games like River City, where we're taking a very established brand and kind of reinventing it. and updating it for modern audiences. And that was a big part of the decision was, just jumping right into the sci-fi aspects might have been a little, I don't know, a little kind of strange for the average gamer. So we wanted to ground it. We wanted to start in a place that's similar to where the players would be themselves and then expand it into that crazy Yars universe on top of there.
That's
These
awesome.
arcade games are tough, man. I tell you what.
Well, I
So-
found it's very hard to talk while you play. I'm glad I'm not playing right
Yeah,
now.
you're doing like an amazing job talking about it. And then like, I'm like
For the many and many hours I've spent into this game, I should be doing it with my eyes closed. But,
yeah, for sure. So where can we find out more about the game?
So if you go to Atari.com, you'll find it on our game page. But also find it on your platform of choice. Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, PC, Atari VCS.
Wait, for real?
Oh yeah, we have the
That's
Atari VCS.
amazing. That's amazing. For you guys who have the VCS, definitely cop it. And everybody, cop this game. It looks super awesome. The animation, everything is so good. Awesome collaboration. Thank you guys
Yeah,
for
thanks for having
coming
us.
through.
Yeah, thanks for featuring us.